everybody. Welcome to the Fandom Post Radio podcast. I am your engineer, Kate, and joining me this week is Kestrel.
Hi.
And Cain.
Hello, hello.
And we are here to talk about all the anime news, mostly coming out of AX and before AX, because it is the time of year where America gets inundated with anime news. So, Kestrel, I am so jealous of your signed copy of Dungeon Meshi.
That's right.
Oh, so jealous.
I should have asked
Kate,
you.
pull out the "he's not a real fan" thing because you read it before him.
Oh, absolutely.
Claim that supremacy real quick.
I'm a bigger fan than you.
You are most certainly.
Did that feel good?
No, because I still don't have, I don't have a signed book with my name on it from Ryoka Kui, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I should have asked you if you had any questions for her, because they really didn't want anyone, taking a picture of her. So they lined us all up in the room, and they had, a little booth to put her behind, and then they're like, oh wait, we have to get her into the booth. All right, everyone leave the room. Remember where you were in line. And so we all left the room for 5 minutes, and hit her in the little booth, and then we went in there one by one, and they were like, do you have any questions for her? And I'm like, oh, I didn't plan for this. So I asked one dumb question.
What was your dumb question?
Would you consider making a cookbook with real world equivalents of the ingredients for your meals in the manga?
What was her response?
No.
Did she answer the question?
No.
The answer was no.
I saw somebody writing down what the answers to some of her questions were, and someone's like, "What's your favorite food from the manga?" And she's like, "I'm a picky eater. I'm not really into it." And then what was the other thing? Who? I don't know. Somebody asked something else, and the response was also completely out of left field, totally nah, I'm not really into that either. It was the most who are you? What have you done with a manga?
I know, right? No, I don't actually have any interest in food.
Yeah, so
but that was you are not alone in your envy, because remember how I was like, well, even if I don't get the online reservation of the autograph ticket, there's gonna be one way at Kinokuniya, and you have to live in LA already, and it's weeks beforehand, so there won't be that much competition. Well, the line was capped by 6 p.m. the night before, and it opens at noon. So yeah,
people were camped out.
Yes, people camped out all night. Only the people who camped out all night had any chance. And then they were of course selling them for $700 a piece.
Oh no!
I think after the fact, or at least for the charity auction, they went for $2,000 a piece for just that volume signed by her. Yeah, so it was certainly in high demand.
That very much feels like nobody planned for her to be that popular at the.
Yeah. I mean, what can you do? She can only sign so much, and there's 120,000 people at this convention, so...
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the timing of her arrival was because the anime just ended, and so, of course, it's going to be way bigger than it was 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I mean, it's cool that I got it anyway.
You could have just asked her something like, how do I get into manga?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
How do I get into voice acting?
How do I get into voice acting? Oh, that would have been good. I mean, you would have needed someone around to laugh at it with you,
right.
But it would have been good. Or just something vague like, what's the deal? But don't specify what that means.
What? All right, I've already got a prospective title. It's "What's the deal with dungeon food?"
That's what I'm trying to think of I'm trying to visualize what the booth looked like. In my mind, it's you go and it's a single line, a single file line. No, you go in one by one. Okay, so you go in one by one, and it's just a completely sealed off telephone booth, except one window where her face is, and a window on prison cell doors where you put your book, and that's it.
I mean, it's just like a table surrounded by like curtains, and they have like her and her handler and her translator at the table, and there's enough space for you to walk in. There's like a security guard outside, and they're like,
Was he big?
I don't remember.
So you could have taken him.
He was fucking bigger than me.
So what you're saying is you could have taken him. Push comes to shove.
I mean, all they were trying to do was hide people from seeing her, and I went into the booth, so I guess I have nothing more to gain.
Very interesting. I've never heard of that like method before, and I've been to obviously like anime conventions, but also other like fan conventions that have celebrities signing shit and stuff. And for the most part, it's like almost entirely out in the open, except for like the big, heavy hitter people. And even then, it's not quite that way. It might just you go behind a curtain to see them, and then you leave. So people just a crowd of people just isn't staring at this one person the whole time.
Yeah. And I mean, like, with mangaka, a lot of them are pretty reclusive, and, you can't really, like, get a picture of them online, and they don't want to be known and seen. And so they're like, no photography and stuff like that. But every example I've seen so far, even those guys, they still have them out in the open, so anyone walking by could sneak a picture. This is the only time I've ever seen it. Like, they are not letting anyone take a picture of her.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. And
very interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. She had like no panels there, which I guess is the same reason, right? Because it'd be too hard to sneak a picture there. Like, they had 2 Delicious in Dungeon panels, but both of them were just the Trigger anime staff, which I thought was super bizarre because they have the creator here. But I guess the reason must be that they were just that concerned about someone getting a picture of her. So literally the only thing she did there was sign autographs.
Easy day.
I guess so. I mean, they had her do like Anime Expo, Kinokuniya, The Grove. So we were like, man, they've got her going all over. But I guess at least all she was doing was writing her name and, answering some dumb questions here and there, but only for
answering questions about cookbooks from idiots.
Yeah, fucking idiots. Obviously people were hoping that there would be some chance of a sketch, but no, they made that very clear right off the bat that would not be happening.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get lucky. Like the right across from her was the mangaka of Seven Deadly Sins, which I've never read or watched, so I didn't care. But he was doing like pretty decent sketches for every single person. He had a list of like 15 characters to choose from, and everyone got a sketch. So you never know. Always bring a shikishi just in case.
I was just gonna say that sounds. I mean, Anime Expo just seems like you're on a whole different dimension or planet. So I imagine stuff in general just works differently there compared to any other convention I've ever been to. So there's also that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like my Anime Expo went pretty well, and I've generally gotten that consensus from a lot of other people, which were all like surprised. We feel like something's wrong because Anime Expo is by default suffering. So the fact that we were like, oh, it was kind of okay this year, it was weird. I think part of it, it's a combination of there were genuine improvements. That's probably the most important thing, and got to give credit where it's due. There wasn't that much that we like couldn't live without, and also I guess we had just learned up to this point, you're gonna have to pick your absolute top priorities, camp in lines, camp in rooms, sacrifice most of what you are potentially interested in to make sure that you don't miss those top priorities, because that's really the only way to make sure you actually get to stuff you care about. And having a press badge doesn't hurt sometimes.
Yeah, I'm sure that little bit of inside baseball probably helps.
But still, I did spend hours in lines. I did spend, I did sit through panels I didn't care about or ones that I cared about less to stay in a room for, most of the day. so that I could at least get a seat for the panel I wanted. Because that's the thing, they don't clear rooms. So the strategy is you just camp for the panel you care about. And if you're, like, even if you're first in line, even if you're in the press line, the first, like, entire front section is going to be taken up from the previous panels. So you literally just have to be in there if you want a decent view.
This does sound kind of hellish. I can't lie.
This is best case scenario AX. This was like so surprisingly pleasant. It's like Eosh K AX.
That's like small miracle. It is
But yeah,
achieved
anyway.
convention nirvana.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, it relatively speaking, it all worked out more or less. So I got the one autograph I cared about. I got to see the panels I care about. I got an interview the day of the interview, and that went well. Yeah, no concerts to speak of. There were like, I don't know, 10, 20 concerts, and every single one of them was fucking VTubers. So could not give a shit. But I mean, I guess it made it easier to get to the panels I wanted to get to because no conflicts there. Yeah, you know, it's suffering, but we suffer together and we grow stronger. Trauma bonding, right? Yeah, trauma bonding.
Why don't you then hit us up with some of the news that you learned?
Well, first we got to start with the pre-AX news. I haven't been here for a couple weeks. And there's been a fair amount of that because, in addition to AX, of course, it was the end of big season. So we had lots of stuff coming out of that. Announcements for continuation. I didn't even include all of those. A lot of them are just like, yeah, you can generally assume that any successful show got announced for another season. But there were a few key things to take note of. One of them not really related to the anime season or anime in general, but My Hero Academia, I think it's 10th anniversary. Let's see exactly when it is. Its 10th anniversary was 2 days ago for the manga, and they announced a little bit before that it would have 5 chapters left. So they came shockingly close to being able to end it like the week of its 10th anniversary, but it still got like, I don't know, 2 or 3 more chapters probably. But yeah, so that is a big piece of news. I always like to look at, the longest, the longest running current Weekly Shonen Jump manga, because it's just One Piece and everything else. So now My Hero Academia was the second longest running. So when that ends in 2 or 3 weeks, the number 1 and number 2 longest running current series in Weekly Shonen Jump will be One Piece at 27 years, followed immediately by Jujutsu Kaisen at 6 years.
Wow.
Yep.
That's a bit of a spread there.
Wait a minute. Where does Hunter x Hunter run?
Yeah, I mean, Hunter x Hunter doesn't count because we get like one chapter every 5 years.
Yeah, okay.
Hunter x Hunter did start 1 year after One Piece.
Yeah.
But I'm fairly certain it has fewer chapters than like the 5-year manga at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, to tie it into the anime, that does indicate that we will have one more season after this one, based on the rate of adaptation up to this point. We've still got one more core of the current season, and that should give us enough material left for about 20-ish episodes. And this season's only like 21 episodes, so 8th season of the same length should cover the rest of the story. All right, if nobody else has any comments on that, next little announcement. Not exactly a continuation of something that just ended, but related. One of the series that just ended after its 2nd season was the reboot of Urusei Yatsura, and as people had been kind of rumoring and leaking up to that point, it did come with an announcement that another classic Rumiko Takahashi manga will be also getting an anime reboot. Not the next one, which is Meizani Koku, but the one after it, which is Ranma One Half. That will be getting brand new anime adaptation. I believe nothing has been announced past that point. I think they have a sort of event planned where they'll get into the details.
I mean, that's pretty exciting. That's a very like classic level anime, like one of the first ones I'd ever heard of, and one of the like, I don't know, Kate, maybe you can throw some detail onto this a little bit, but I know in the couple books or little articles I read about like tape trading, that Ranma Half was one of the animes that was kind of not around or originated, but was getting tape traded and ripped and all that early on because of how popular it was and everything. So it has like a sort of classic from academic point of view, but also the cool like underground point of view of people who wanted to watch anime over here in the United States. Like you had to have your connections to get it and shit like that, which is cool. I've never watched it before, outside of a couple episodes here and there, but I know it's iconic and influential. So I know Meisani Kaku is one that's also kind of in that same vein. Like a lot of people really love it, but I guess it just didn't have the same like big or perspective audience, maybe because Ranma is essentially a shonen in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. Is Ikoku just popular, even though people consider it. So hopefully this is also successful and they do that one next, because that would be nice.
Yeah, the Ranma Half was like a little bit before my time, I think. Like tape trading, well, it wasn't one of the things I got my hands on, tape trading, but I knew like exactly one person who was doing it. So yeah, this is a question for Chris, our boss, but he ain't here. Because he is the one that would know. But I think it was the novelty of that series. Stuck around for a while. So
yeah.
Did we get a full like series over here eventually that covers all of it and it's being just redone from scratch, or was it one of those that we got a season or two and then there's a bunch of like non-translated or just non-available stuff for that was officially serialized over here?
Like the manga release or the anime?
Either or. I'm just curious. Like the anime or the manga. Like like I said, I've never read or watched it. It's not really ever been on my radar outside of just knowing that it is
Ranma
old school.
Ranma is so old that it was one of the series that Viz was releasing in monthly comic book format.
Right. But I think in the past 10 years, Viz has re-released all of the Ranma manga and anime in like new omnibuses and Blu-rays respectively. So I think we are good there.
Yeah, they released it and then they re-released it, and yeah, so it's,
and I think the like every Takahashi series really, the Ranma One Half anime is very long, so I think it almost certainly covers all of the manga. I mean, I can't say that with confidence, but I'm guessing that like Urusei Yatsura, this new adaptation will be much shorter. And I know Chris commented that like that might be part of the appeal because Urusei Yatsura and Ranma One Half have a lot of bullshit that you can cut. Urusei Yatsura much more so, because it's just a gag show. Ranma One Half has a lot more, plot. Meizani Koku is too much plot. You wouldn't really be able to cut much. So, yeah, that might be some of the motivation behind the order that they're doing them in. They just need to make sure each one succeeds before they can invest themselves in a longer one. Because, like, I think there are some rumors that the Ranma One Half reboot will be, like, 4 seasons, maybe, and Urusei Yatsura was only 2. So,
there's
they might have to keep being longer.
There's a really funny and kind of interesting quote from Jason DeMarco of Toonami that said that he had previously tried to get the Ranma half rights to air on the block, but it was something we were never able to figure out because, frankly, there's too much nudity.
Sounds about right.
Yep. So.
Well, the whole thing with Ranma is that the main character transforms between boy and girl with like hot and cold water or something, right? I think that's right.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure is completely innocent all the time.
Of course, yeah.
I like wonder how they're gonna modernize it, because it's very much a product of its time situation, and they'll probably have to tone down some stuff.
Yeah, I'm guessing it'll be toned down.
Yeah.
Okay. Next piece of news. So we had talked about this a bit last time about how like, oh, Demon Slayer is gonna be in its final arc after this. They're gonna go back to like movies to just make even more money than Mugen Train. And indeed, they did announce that the rest of the series will be adapted into a movie trilogy called Infinity Castle. I mean, considering how much of the series is this final arc and considering how much time they took to adapt like 8 chapters into like, 8 episodes where 3 of them were extra long, I'm kind of surprised that 3 movies is going to cover like these dozens and dozens, maybe hundreds of chapters. But that's the plan. 3 more movies. Kestrel already announced they'd be distributing them worldwide. So yeah, get to see how much money that rakes in this point.
I am like 90 to 95% excited for this.
Okay, that's good.
The percentages that I'm not excited for is the timeline that these movies could take to be released. Being so close, because I don't think anything like that has been. I don't know if it's even been hinted at yet, because I had followed this news when it first came out, because I saw it on my my Reddit first as a rumor and then as confirmed. But then I don't recall ever seeing something like, well, we want to release the first movie by the end of 2024, beginning of 2025, and then another one near the end of 2025 and finish in 2026. Like, no, not even sort of a rough timeline. So I'm not sure how long this could take to finish. And then there's also apparently in Kestrel, have you read the manga or anything?
I have not.
Okay. So there is something, and this is not spoilery because I have no idea what it means exactly at all, but I guess some people are saying there's a mini arc, maybe that's called like Sunrise Countdown or something, like the Sunrise Countdown arc, but I see conflicting things online between fans of people saying like that's not a real arc, it's just pieces of the Infinity Castle arc near the end that fans decided to separate because it doesn't take place in the castle. So it's hard to tell if they're gonna animate that or not, depending on if that's really official. I wasn't super sure because everyone was talking about it like it was, but I don't know how that's exactly gonna go. But the main thing is really the timeline for the movie releases, because I'm already tempted to just start at the manga where this season ended off and just finish it and then watch the movies in their finished form, depending on how long it takes, because I really don't feel like waiting if it's going to take a while, like 3 years to get through this last part of the property. So that's something I'm going to have to wrestle internally with.
Yeah, certainly no release timeframes confirmed. I would guess 1 a year, so ending in 2027.
Yeah.
That would be the expectation, because, a movie is less content than a season, and they've been doing one of those every year. But, you're not going to get as much money for everyone if you have them all back to back. So you need to space them out a little bit. So once a year seems to be a good strategy for them. Yeah, I don't know anything about the manga either. It looks like yeah, Sunrise Countdown and is the last chunk of the final battle arc following Infinity Castle. So my guess is that they just call the trilogy Infinity Castle, and the first two are the proper Infinity Castle portion of it, and then the final one is Sunrise Countdown, I guess. But and I mean they they might call it part 1, part 2, part 3, but it also might be Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Infinity Castle, Sunrise Countdown, for the full title. So yeah, and I have no idea, but they have heavily implied that the series will be fully adapted with these 3 films.
Yeah, and that's the feel I got as well. Just the seed of doubt from people being like, well, the Infinity Castle arc isn't even the end of it. It's X, Y, Z, Sunrise Countdown. So who knows what could happen? But I feel like it would be exceptionally weird that they release 3 movies in a row and then a 10 episode series or something to actually finish it. Like that would just be incredibly odd. So
yeah,
I'm assuming it's these 3 movies that they're just gonna dump all of the budget they could possibly get into, and then rake in more money than God.
Yes, exactly. That is the plan.
And I'm generally cool with this when more shows do it. I think that puts me in the minority, actually. I've learned. I thought more people would be excited, but a lot of folks just want episodes. At least in the Demon Slayer subreddit and stuff. But I'm like, bring me the movies, because then I can get a whole, arc or so, or a good chunk all at one time in a big glorious experience, and not have to be once a week for 20 minutes when the first 3 minutes are going to be recap, and then the last 3 minutes are the ending theme, and then a gag at the end. I just want all of the good shit all at once.
So what you're saying is that your ideal delivery method is to the Swordsmith Village, where you get 2 episodes from the last season and then 1 episode from the new season.
Yeah, actually, you know what? You're right.
In a movie theater, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So, what I actually want is 3 movies, but the first movie is all original content. The second movie is the first half of the first movie, and then the first half of the second movie, and then the third movie is the first half of the first movie, the first third of the second, and then some filler at the end.
That's pretty much ideal content.
Yeah. Sure. No, I think, you know what? I changed my mind. I want that, and I don't want anything else.
We don't think about this because we live in the future. This was all long ago. But the way the Evangelion movies were released, it was kind of that. Because we didn't just get the TV series and then End of Evangelion. We got Evangelion, Death and Rebirth, which is a clip show of the TV series, and then the first third of End of Evangelion, which means that when we then got End of Evangelion, the first third of it was just the second half of Death and Rebirth. So if you were watching as stuff came out from that perspective at the time, Evangelion was just as bad as Demon Slayer is now.
That pissed people off back then?
I mean, people were pissed off enough at Evangelion at that point.
Yeah, that's true. I think they just went in there with a default level of being pissed.
I think it might be from the premiere Death and Rebirth that you have that scene in End of Evangelion with the guys in the movie theater, and one of the guys flips off the camera. It's a classic. Anyway, yeah, the in terms of the movies versus seasons, I think the biggest issues people have with this arc's just going to be a movie now is, one, still in the year of our Lord 2024, we still can't fucking get a simultaneous release in Japan for a movie. For the biggest anime franchises, for Godzilla, we just can't get it somehow in this modern age. Never happens. So while we get every episode the second it drops in Japan, an hour or 2 later, I guess, on our streaming services, movies still have to wait months usually. The other thing is, and Demon Slayer has found the way around this, right? You are watching your series on your TV season sometime in the future, and it's auto playing season 1, season 2. Oh wait, you got to stop between season 2 and 3. There's a movie you got to go watch. That's listed separately. Demon Slayer's solution to this is, well, we'll just chop up the movie into episodes too. But inevitably, when something is, formatted as a film originally, and you just chop it up, it's not going to have quite the same pacing. So it's still generally advised that you watch it in the original release order or release format, because that's how it was produced. So those are kind of the two issues I see with flipping between seasons and movies. But yeah, when you get it and it's a nice big theatrical spectacle, then it's pretty neat. And it gets to be, an entire storyline in one go. Also for like shonen stuff, adapting one chapter per episode is going to be super slow no matter what. So nobody who can adapt more will only adapt one episode or one chapter per episode. So you already have a bit of this, but the chapters of a serialized manga are already going to be kind of like meant to have cliffhanger endings. And so that kind of works better adapting into a TV series in some ways than a movie, because when it's a movie, you can kind of tell, like, okay, well, these are all the individual chapters that are kind of meant to be episodes. So that's another potential issue with that.
But Mugen Train was really dope.
You're pretty dope, yep.
So, I mean...
The movie-going public agrees, as it is by far the most successful Japanese film of all time. And
so clearly
most successful worldwide film in the country of Japan from anywhere.
Yeah, I was going to say, clearly their track record of one shows that this will not be a problem.
I mean, in terms of making money, yeah, it is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, we said this last time, like, since they cut Mugen Train into episodes anyway, they've kind of shown their hand that, like, okay, you don't really need to go to the theater to see it. It'll be on TV the next year anyway. But, we acknowledge that the one thing is for the final arc, because, nobody's sitting at home waiting for the stream when Avengers Endgame is on screen and everyone is talking about it. So to be part of the zeitgeist, everyone's still going to show up to the theater for the final battle, even if it's 3 movies. And I suspect the final one will, gross the most.
Yeah, I think I tried doing the math at one point, just like rough in my head, of the different movie like runtimes, and I guess how many episodes it would be to see like what they were thinking about trying to adapt in a way. Just like while I was driving in my car, I was like, well, if they go 3 90-minute movies or 3 2-hour movies, that's 6 hours of content. 6 hours of content times 3 would essentially be 18 episodes worth of content. So it's 3 movies or 1 season in a way, with some extra episodes tossed in depending on how long they made the movies.
Yeah.
So it isn't, I guess, I don't know, that to me it wasn't that far-fetched in terms of the idea of they're going to be missing content, because some people were afraid of that. Of like, well, if they just make the movies between 2 and 2.5 hours long, which isn't that big of a deal, they'd essentially hit the mark of what would be about 20 episodes of content or so, which isn't that far off from a normal season of anime. Plus you don't get openings and endings and gags all the time, so it's probably even a little bit more if you subtract those little bits off the end.
I mean, I think the thing is, this final arc is like way, way longer than arcs. So like, it was never going to be one core. That it's going to be 3 movies, but so I think they are going to have to either do, like 2.5 hour movies, or just have it really condensed.
I could see them doing 2.5 hour movies. I don't think that would be an issue. You would get butts in seats for that long, no problem, if it was a visual spectacle the entire time.
Yeah. It's
Which
rare
will assuredly be
for anime films to be that long, though. Like, they're still usually an hour and a half.
Well, I think Mugen Train was 2 hours.
Was it? Okay. Yeah, they're usually in that range, hour 45 or so. If Mugen Train was 2 hours, then yeah, I could see these definitely being longer. Might make them spaced out a little bit more though, if that's the case.
We'll see. Either way, I'm excited for the concept at the very least, because yeah, I'm also notoriously I'm not very good at keeping up with anime. Like, as my life gets busy, I'll be like, well, I don't have time to watch this episode. But if it's I just gotta make one appointment to go to the movie for one night and be completely caught up, the lazy part of me is also enticed by that proposition. So I can't deny that part where it's like, instead of being caught up and making sure I watch all of my episodes of anime every week, this is just the movie comes out and it's screening over these 2 weeks. I just have to go to it one time.
Yeah. Looks like at the rate of adaptation of the anime so far, it would take exactly 30 episodes to cover this final arc.
So then, yeah,
that's,
it would be
10 episodes of content per movie.
Yeah.
Which is a lot.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm optimistic that if they have to condense it, they can condense it in the right areas. And see, because we also don't know, because I haven't read the manga, neither of you, like, what these chapters of manga are like. Like, are they all jam-packed with good content and plot, or is there also a lot of panels in these chapters where it's just the two characters staring at each other for a long time, or, you know, what is essentially manga B-roll and things like that? Like, I don't really know. I only have one friend who's actually read the manga, and we don't talk about it that frequently.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like if they keep the current rate of adaptation and we assume about 20 minutes of each episode is actual new content, then that would be 3 hours and 3 hours and 20 minutes per movie, which they're not going to do. So it's definitely going to be condensed if they're covering the rest of it in 3 movies. Which, I mean, arguably, Demon Slayer doesn't need 5 minutes of Muzan walking. So, you know, maybe people will appreciate the more condensed adaptation pace.
Yeah, exactly. They don't need the montage, and then they don't need the montage played out again in the next episode.
Yeah. So maybe a little less dramatic in these movies. Okay. So speaking of movies and going back to rebooting some old classics, Kate just stepped away, but
Hi, I'm back.
okay,
Sorry.
cool. Yeah, so we got a couple classics coming back. They were announced the same day, actually. Well, the first one actually was announced that it would get a new anime a few years back. But now we got the details, and that is Rose of Versailles, and it would be a film. It came out with a trailer. They announced the cast, staff, studios. Going to be by MAPPA because they don't have enough on the plates.
Jesus.
Music by Hiroyuki Sawano, who's one of the most notable composers in the industry, and his protege that he usually collaborates with these days, Kota Yamamoto. And it's going to star some also very prolific seiyuu in the lead roles. Miyuki Sawashiro as Oscar and Aya Hirano as Marie Antoinette, which both sound like very appropriate fits. Like, this whole the studio, the composers, the cast all sounds like fake news from like a Reddit post or a YouTuber or something. Just like clickbait. Like, this is what you would just make for a Rose of Versailles reboot. Like, okay, sure, I'm sure it'll be that, but it is literally that. And it will be released in Japan starting early 2025.
That confession, I've not invested myself in any of that properties stuff. So maybe that's a place to start. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
the original anime adaptation does have a Blu-ray from Discotek out, and it's a very interesting production because it switched directors halfway through, and it's very obvious where it switched directors. Because the first half is just like, shoujo court drama of like, one lady in court gossiping about another lady in court, and it's like the end of the world. And then the second half, where Osamu Dezaki took over, it's like fucking violent and serious and dramatic and French Revolution shit, and people are dying. So the second half is really good. If you can get through the first half, then it's definitely worth it. Also, I know it got some fancy like hardcover manga releases finally. So yeah, there are lots of great options to check out already. But I am hoping, given everything we know about this reboot, that will also be good.
What else we got?
And the other thing is the other classic getting a reboot announced the same day, which I have no association with, but I know Kate has talked about it in the past. So I'm just gonna say the headline and then let you talk. Clamp's Magic Knight Rayearth manga gets new anime project. That is all we know.
I know new anime project is so vague. I'm like, just please be a series. Rayearth has a really interesting history of anime adaptation. When the original series was adapted, first of all, it's a pretty short manga. It's only about 6 volumes in total. When it was first adapted, the first season was pretty much spot on. It had a lot of filler and some like new characters and stuff like that, and they killed off characters that do not die in the manga, which created plot holes that needed to be addressed in the second season, which diverges pretty sharply towards the end. And along, they added another villain. So not very accurate to the manga, but also, like I said, the manga is very short. And moves at a breakneck pace, and it's also pretty not the most deep thing in the universe. It's famous for its rather shock value ending of the first part, and the but the anime had it was like next to Sailor Moon, probably like the first like big shoujo show to like pick up steam in the following on the heels of Sailor Moon over here. And so very much like the second, the follow up to Everybody's Gateway shoujo series in the 90s. And plus it had it's the rare before times isekai of when isekai was mostly focused on properties aimed at girls, and you get 3 girls sucked into another world with the stipulation that they save that world, and then they give them awesome swords, cool armor, a magical mascot, and then eventually like magical mechs. So it's dope. It's pure. It is pure wish for fulfillment in the isekai department, but how back in the 90s it was like, how often do you get to watch like girls go kick ass and be like the only hope to save the world, and they were just like 8th graders. So yeah, I love Rayearth. Yeah, the first anime series, like I said, is kind of like a mixed bag, and then they did something really weird, which was they made this like OVA standalone movie thing that was completely different than anything else. Like super dark, super serious. The characters all had different personalities. The art style was way out there. Like just a bizarre and it wasn't like Clamp wasn't involved in these processes of making these things. They were, which makes it even weirder. I mean, not so much now looking back, because Clamp loves to remix their stuff But at the time, it was weird. And I'm hoping that that this new thing is a series and that it is both closer to how the manga series ends as a whole. Because there's one character that kind of gets screwed over no matter what version of the story they're in, except for the manga. And but I'm also hoping that they flush it out a little bit without going too off the rails because it is fairly short and not very meaty. And I liked some of the downtime with with the support characters that the original anime series first season did. So it'd be cool if we got to see like that extended. I don't know, and I also wonder how much input Clamp's gonna have in it this time. Probably a lot. They seem to always. I don't know how much input did they usually have in like Card Sakura and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know how directly they were involved in like the new Clear Card arc or anything. Not sure.
The promo image for this new thing only had like a back shot of the girls, so I don't know how crazy they're gonna go with adapting the style. Like that was very old school Clamp style, so like a lot of extra shininess and like heavier line detail. It's not the like noodly people later Clamp style that they've kind of, you know, it got way wispier. Very heavy like dark lines and stuff like that of their earlier style, and I don't know if any of that's going to come across. But yeah, the original series looked pretty wonky too a lot of the time, so hopefully it'll look a little better.
It looks like for the Clear Card anime, Okawa of Clamp did write the adaptation, so they were very involved.
Probably going to be involved in this,
yeah.
But we'll see. I hope they stick with their original ending for Rayearth this time around. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited.
Nice. All right. Now on to Anime Expo. So I feel like, I don't know, on one hand, there wasn't a ton of like super big stuff announced. On the other hand, there was just a ton of stuff announced in general. Lots of quantity over quality. Is mostly by Crunchyroll in terms of like notable stuff. So I'm gonna kind of run through some of the notable things I think that Crunchyroll announced, and then kind of some of the things from other people. And I guess after I get through the Crunchyroll stuff, we can give any comments. So from Crunchyroll, first we have another webtoon adaptation. Those are the Korean manhwa webcomics. This one is Omniscient Reader, which I have heard very good things about, and I was going to check out anyway. So that's getting an anime from Crunchyroll and Aniplex. That's going to be on Crunchyroll, of course. Next season of Dr. Stone is going to be called Dr. Stone Science Future. It is the final season. And we have Fire Force, that's getting a third season. That was completely up in the air when its second season ended. Now confirmed for season 3. Going to be split core, first half April 2025, second half January 2026. Let's see, what else do I care about? We knew The Apothecary Diaries was getting another season. We got, the confirmation that it would be from the same studios, coming to Crunchyroll 2025, new key art and trailer released for that. Similar for Blue Lock Season 2, confirmed for Crunchyroll for October 2024 with a new teaser released, or new trailer. Then, let's see, we've got another season of Link Click, which is a Chinese co-production that I've been a big fan of. So we're getting a new arc of that coming to Crunchyroll this winter. We had previously talked about Natsume's Book of Friend getting a 7th season after 7 years. and that is gonna be on Crunchyroll in fall 2024 as well, and got a trailer along with the staff and key art released. They announced that there would be a 10th anniversary celebration of Tokyo Ghoul, which didn't necessarily entail a new anime production, but it would have something going on that would be announced shortly. I did not watch most of Trigun Stampede, but they did announce that its second and final part would be called Trigun Stargaze, and I think that's all we know about that. They revealed some like production material in the panel for that with Orange, but I don't think they said like when it's coming. Oh yeah, another mangaka that they had at Anime Expo was the creator of A Witch Hat Atelier, which I know is also a very beloved series. And
Wonder if she was doing signings.
Yeah, I have some friends who got her autograph, I think.
I would have waited in line for that one.
Yeah. So they had the world premiere of the trailer and some footage, key art of the upcoming anime adaptation of that. The staff, character designer, director, composer. The studio is Bug Films, which has famously only ever made Zom 100, which famously fell the fuck apart in production. So hopefully they got their shit together by now.
Hopefully they have enough of a head start that they won't fuck up. Like I saw the trailer and it was like entirely made up of footage from the first episode. So we'll see.
It's gonna be just like Zom 100, fucking solid first episode. After that.
Please,
but yeah,
please hold it together, man. Please tell me you've learned your lesson, because the staff is otherwise really good.
Yeah, exactly. Especially since Zom 100 was like, poking fun at the black company that they all came from, which now they turned into. Oops.
Isn't it funny how that happens?
Yeah, so we're getting that in 2025 on Crunchyroll. A little bit of information for some previously announced stuff. Solo Leveling Season 2. Got the premiere of the trailer for that. New season of Blue Exorcist. Also, Black Butler. I think they announced this season that just ended at last year's Anime Expo at the Crunchyroll panel. So they followed that up in the same way. This is the Emerald Witch arc is coming. I'm gonna guess probably spring of next year if they keep this trend up. And I think that is the Crunchyroll announcements from Anime Expo. If anyone has any more commentary on any of those.
I'm definitely excited for more Blue Lock. That first season was really good. And I hope the second season can keep up with it. Now that we're getting into sort of the really elite stuff and the stakes being raised. I didn't watch the Nagi OVA, and I'm not sure if I will, since it seems to be mostly just like, spin-off-y, prequel-y kind of stuff, which I'm never super into. But I did hear that the production on that wasn't very good, and this is the same studio doing it.
Well, the studio never changed.
Okay, so it's just the production value on the movie was lower than the series, like the show, or OVA. Yeah, the OVA production value apparently dropped.
It's a feature film. It's not an OVA. Yeah.
Okay. So that gives me a little bit of concern that we're not going to get as, beautiful looking of a show, like with all the action stuff that we got before. So that is a little bit concerning, but I'm still optimistic to watch more of it. That is 100% for sure.
Yeah, the movie, which is I think still in theaters now, it was an interesting experiment because it was like, what if Nagi was the main character? So it's the same time frame as the series, but by the nature of Nagi and Isagi not interacting for most of it, you get to have mostly new material for the movie, even though it's taking place in the same time frame. And then at the end, you get into the material that you already saw in the series once Nagi was introduced, just from a different perspective. And so Isagi is the antagonist and Nagi is the protagonist. So that is an interesting experiment. I don't know that it because the story is inherently written around making Isagi's story the interesting one. And by its nature, spoiler, the protagonist loses the final battle because he was the antagonist in that battle in the series, which meant that he lost in that context. So, and also by its nature, the final battle is the only part that we know how it ends up because we already saw it. And so for the final battle to be in some ways the least climactic part, because it's the thing we've already seen, is kind of, not how you make a story.
Yeah, that's a weird way to make the momentum in your film, with the ending part, the denouement being entirely known by everybody who's sitting in the theater at that time.
Yeah, so that was kind of weird. And then the entire second core, Nagi's in it, right? So they kind of speed run the second core in the last few minutes. And you also, even with the first core condensed into 70, 80 minutes, it's going to be a lot less impactful than 12 episodes. So, yeah, the movie was an experiment and a way to kind of get Nagi fans, because he's very popular, without really getting into new content, because, the story of Blue Lock, you can't just have a side story in between those two seasons. They are locked in a fucking prison. It is very linear, so they kind of had to do it this way, I guess, if they wanted to make a movie in between them. So yeah, it was an experience, but I wouldn't say it lived up to the first season. So hopefully they are kind of sticking with what they established the first time around in the sequel, since it's not just kind of a Nagi product, it is the series proper. We'll see. Any other thoughts on any of those?
I'm surprised Fire Force is still a thing.
Yeah.
It's got its fans, I guess. Okay, I can get into some of the other news as well. Yeah, so we had, Panning with Gutter Belt kind of gets a minor update every AX. So it was initially announced 2 years ago at AX with just a mic drop at the end of the trigger panel. Then last year they announced a bit more about it. We finally have a teaser visual, the main staff confirmed, most of which you could, anticipate, and 2025 release date confirmed as well. So finally making some progress on that. What else we got from other people? So I'm interested. I feel like we haven't talked about this that much, and we haven't had that much material for it until now. But Gundam is doing some weird experiments lately. They've got a movie coming out on Netflix shortly that maybe it's a OVA, a few episodes. I can't remember. But it's an anime production made entirely in Unreal Engine 5. That's had a trailer since it was announced, I think. That was last year. The other weird experiment they're doing is the world's first fully VR and feature animated film, I think is what they're calling it. It's called Mobile Suit Gundam Silver Phantom. So they revealed the trailer there, and it's up now on the Meta Store or whatever. So that's coming out before too long. Blue Box is a Shonen Jump sports manga that's been going for a few years. Got an anime announced a year or so ago. that got new key art, a new trailer, and confirmed for Netflix release. Speaking of Netflix, we had the Beastars final season confirmed for December 2024. What else we got? Bleach, that had a whole panel for the 1,000-Year Blood War. Finally getting news on part 3 of that. They revealed the key art and October 2024 release. They also had a video message from the director of the first 2 parts, who's going to be chief director now, and there's going to be a new director working under him for part 3, and presumably the 4th and final part as well. So they're beefing up the team a little bit. They also, confirmed that there's going to be a lot more anime original content in this part, which was, a big part of what made this arc really good in the anime, because it was in the manga there was a lot of Kubo rushing past shit that needed to be fleshed out more and starting out stuff that needed less content in the manga, just because of editorial whims deciding that this needed to be longer or shorter depending on how popular something was. So Kubo has been working very closely with the anime team to kind of make it the final arc that he wanted it to be, and so far it's worked out very well, so hopefully it continues to be the case. Let's see, we have a lot of manga announcements as per usual. I don't know that there was a ton I care that much about. Let's see, Kodansha's got one from Later Fairy Tale and Rave Master. One from the creator of what's that show, Knights of Estonia, and a few others.
Oh yeah, that was one thing I was kind of curious about.
You like all the titles with dungeon in the name, don't you?
No, I like Nihei. I like Nihei stuff. So and I didn't realize he had a new series out. I was like, oh shit, because I realized he probably did because Knights of Sidonia was a while ago, but
He's had a few others, right? Am I thinking of the wrong?
Yeah. He did Blam. And yeah, it said Blame, but I think it was supposed to be Blam.
That's right. So, yeah, it's pronounced Blam. Stupid.
I know, because how does English work? And Biomega, I think that was the title of it.
Okay.
A lot of weird sci-fi stuff. So I think this other one is fantasy, and I want to see what his fantasy looks like.
Yeah, like a hack and slash series. Yeah.
Yeah, because most of it, because he was he used to do this, the space stuff was very super mega structure, crazy, Dyson sphere-esque space objects that go on for infinity, and bizarre AI alien robot things and stuff like that. So I really want to know what his fantasy looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So I will have to check that out.
Also one from Shuzo Oshimi, who's fairly prolific mangaka, probably best known for Flag of Evil and Inside Mari. Also Happiness. He's done a bunch of stuff. Speaking of Rayearth, we've got I guess the manga was split up because they've got Magic Knight Rayearth Part 2 Volume.
It's only the 700th time that Rayearth has been released. It has said so many different editions in English. It's ridiculous.
Interesting. Probably the same for, well, this is like the Sailor Moon prototype that eventually spawned Sailor Moon, which is codenamed Sailor V. That's getting a new release called the Naoko Takeuchi Collection. So whatever they were doing before that she didn't like, they fixed now, I guess.
When Kodansha put out their versions of their first editions of the Sailor Moon and Sailor V releases, had a translator on the project that actively hated working on the project, and it showed in the translation.
Always good. Always recommend.
Yeah, I was like, how the fuck did you fuck that up? Yeah, well they did, and and then it got another release in Japan, and then another release in Japan. So, and since those they can sell 1 million different reprints of both Sailor Moon and Magic Knight Rayearth. They just keep releasing it.
Yeah, that's what you do.
I mean, I have a version that was the first. I have versions that Tokyo Pop, back when they were mix, put out of Rayearth, and then I have the editions that Dark Horse put out of Rayearth, because they had the license for most of Clamp's stuff for a good while, and then it all went to Kodansha. So yeah, so we're like on our third publisher. Oy.
I didn't realize that Higashimura, the creator of Princess Jellyfish and Blank Canvas, this other series of her, Tokyo, what is it? Tokyo Tarareba Girls. It has like 3 spin-offs. The second one has like a sequel as well. So they announced Tokyo Tarareba Girls Returns Part 2, Volume 1 for digital release. So
Jesus.
whatever's going on with that franchise, I guess it is quite sprawling. But Blank Canvas is very good, at least. I don't know about this series. So yeah, that's what we got from Kodansha. J Novel Club. Let's see if they've got anything interesting going on. Lots of very, very fucking long titles. Typical light novel bullshit. No, nothing I care about.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got Square Enix. They got Apothecary Diaries art book. Looks like for the light novel, which I don't like the art quite as much in the light novel as the manga. And I think the anime improves upon both of them even more. So, I don't know that I'll get this art book, but cool to see it coming out. I'm glad that series is successful because it's very good. They have anything else notable coming out? Final Fantasy art book. It's like not even an art book, it's like a poster collection. They did this for the first Final Fantasy VII remake too. I did not get that. I have no interest in removable posters. I'll get art books, real art books. See any video games I care about? Yen Press. Speaking of Delicious in Dungeon hitting right now, they announced a nice fancy complete box set of that manga series. So that looks pretty snazzy. I only have the first volume as of right now, so I might just buy this, and assuming that they are the original volumes inside the box, I'll just swap out my signed copy for the volume inside it.
There you go.
But yeah, that looks pretty snazzy. I think that's the only thing from Yen I really cared about. Blend Est, I got an anime a few years back that's getting a manga license from them as well. Yeah, that's probably it for any major manga and light novel announcements. Let me just quickly scan through this Azuki lineup. Not seeing anything super notable here. Yeah, so that's everything I got on this list. If anyone has any more commentary on those, I will check the next and final list to see if there's anything that was missed.
The only thing I wanted to say from one of the announcements a little bit ago is the Silver Phantom Gundam thing is interesting not only as a novelty, but it also it continues the trend of, and I understand in like a business sense why they have to do this, but it's always funny when you watch 0079 or something and they talk about how special the Gundam is and how it's a top secret project, and the more they release, it's like everybody and their mom has a Gundam in their garage. Like the first Gundam was no big fucking deal apparently, because the main characters, like the mercenary company in Silver Phantom, apparently has a secret Gundam. There was Gundam shit going on with Thunderbolt. There's Gundams, absolutely, an 8th MS team. They had the EZ8 Gundams, which are sort of Gundams, but not really. But basically, the RX-78 means nothing in the grand scheme of things.
100%.
Which makes me feel even worse for Tem Ray because of what happens to him.
Nice.
But I don't have anything for like VR to watch or interact with this. But I definitely plan on at least like trying to read a review or watch a YouTube video about someone's experience with it just to see exactly how it works, because it is a cool sounding project and I appreciate creativity for any of that kind of stuff. Even if it flops, it's like at least they tried something different. And that's always at least welcome by me from a piquing my interest standpoint, versus if they could have just released it as like a mediocre normal movie or OVA, but instead they were like, we're gonna do VR and you can interact with it. I'm like, well, fuck yeah, let's see what happens. Can't be any weirder or worse than the Spice and Wolf VR, so
I mean, it doesn't have a cute wolf girl that you can take care of, so it is inherently worse.
well, we don't know that yet.
That's true. Okay, anything else around the stuff that we've talked about so far?
I don't think so.
Got a couple more on here that were missed. So G-Kids is going to be releasing Naoko Yamada's next film for Science Saru, The Colors Within. We've known that for a while. She also has a short film called Garden of Remembrance, which is coming. I'm guessing that it will be released with the film, if I was a betting man, but no confirmation of that as far as I know. For those who don't know, Naoko Yamada was a KyoAni staffer who notably directed A Silent Voice and has been working with Science Saru after the arson attack. Also, Shoji Kawamori was at AX, creator of Macross and many other mecha-related properties, and idol-related properties, I suppose. And he announced, just kind of mentioned maybe during his panel, that he is directing a new animated film for 2025. No further information there. For Key fans, there's a Key gacha game, I guess, that's been very popular for the past few years in Japan that has an English release confirmed. It is notably the first Key game primarily written by Jun Maeda, who was, the primary writer of Key back in the day for, the original three, Air, Kana, and Clannad, and then I think Little Busters as well, maybe. So he's back for that. Let's see, is there anything else worth talking about? There's a lot of shit. A lot of stuff to sift through. There's a new Bleach game coming out. A little more, yeah, I don't.
Does
care that
anybody
much.
care anymore about Bleach?
I mean, I care about Bleach more than I ever have. I don't care about licensed anime games at all. Yeah, the One Piece dub is continuing to blaze along. They premiered the dub of the Egghead arc at AX, and they have release date for the first chunk of that coming pretty soon, the next couple months. So that is getting extremely close to being caught up with the Japanese anime.
God bless them.
Yeah. I wish the Blu-rays would not be so far behind, because those haven't even gotten to Wano yet. And Wano's like 200 episodes.
Ugh.
Yeah. Uzumaki, still no update, except they've got a cast now. So if it ever gets released, it will also have a dub.
Yeah, I think the last thing they said was like, soon.
Uh-huh.
and that's about it.
Perpetually soon. TM.
Yep.
The new My Hero movie, we got to watch the first 15 minutes of it in the panel. It's coming out in Japan August, I think, and announced that it would come out in US theaters October 11th. Notably, there does not seem to be any Crunchyroll involvement in that, which is interesting. Anything else here? Covered all this stuff. Oh yeah, and Bleach Thousand Year Blood War Part 3 will be subtitled The Conflict. I don't know if that was announced before. Also, the trailer that they released previewed the opening and ending, so we now know who's doing that and what those sound like. AX Cinema Nights, that's the thing they do every year where they screen a few movies. A lot of them are repeated this year. So last year they did Paprika and Cowboy Bebop, the movie. They are doing those same two again. In addition to Ninja Scroll and Metropolis. Yeah.
Ninja Scroll's classic.
Yeah. I think it is the 30th anniversary of that? Some anniversary.
I'd believe it.
Yeah. Anything else? I think that is pretty much it. There's some stuff revealed for Rusty Rabbit, which is a game from Gen Urobuchi, who was at AX pretty incognito. He was just running the panel for that. The name of the panel didn't include like Gen Urobuchi or anything. You just had to look at descriptions for everything to be like, oh, he's there. Cool.
That game actually looks pretty cool, so I'm looking forward to that coming up.
Cool. Yeah, I haven't actually looked into it at all. I was just considering going to the panel because Urobuchi was there, but by the time I considered it, it was definitely capped because I put it in a tiny room.
Mm.
Yeah, surely that has to be all the news that came out of it. So I don't know if there's any further thoughts on any of that or anything that we have talked about so far, but that is all the news that I care about from AX.
No, that was a pretty good rundown.
Cool.
Only other thing I got is coinciding with Anime Expo, the Los Angeles Dodgers had their anime night at the ballpark, which was interesting from that standpoint. There were VTubers and there were, I think, VTuber jerseys you could buy, which I'm sure those have also been heinously scalped.
I'm sure.
And I think they had, even up on the Jumbotron, some VTubers like singing or doing color commentary to the baseball on the field, which must have just been absolutely surreal.
Yeah, for any fucking normie just going to a sports game to have experienced that, I cannot imagine what it was like.
Yeah, going to a Dodgers game just to see the Dodgers play per usual, and then you get VTubers and anime cosplayers and all sorts of shit everywhere. Like, you must have had to check to make sure you were like still conscious.
Yeah, like that is a Kai story right there.
Yep.
I went to a baseball. Sorry, it's Dodgers baseball.
Yep.
I went to a baseball game and ended up with a bunch of weird virtual anime girls. I don't know.
Yep. It was. I saw a couple screenshots from it, and someone took a video footage of the Jumbotron when one of the VTubers was up there, and I was like, boy, the normies in the crowd are just miserable right now watching this, but Shohei Ohtani is bringing anime to sports.
Apparently so, yeah.
But I think that's it from that weekend, the surrounding area. So I think we can tiptoe a little bit into the end of the anime season then, so we can talk about that for a little bit.
Yep.
I know we have shared some shows and everything, so we can talk about some of those, maybe the highlights and such, just to be sure we get all the good shit out of the way, and we kind of skip talking about the mediocre to disappointing things, unless there is some comedy to be mined out of that. But first one I want to talk about is actually Demon Slayer, since we discussed it a little bit in the movie already, with the movie announcements and stuff. I wanted to get your take on the last episode in particular. That I think that episode really brought a bunch of people around to the whole arc in its entirety, because it seemed like a relatively lukewarm reception to the arc until that final episode and everything that happened. And normally I'm relatively skeptical of opinions like that, but I gotta say, it is pretty fucking dope. Like, normally I would poo-poo like one episode bringing up the general perception of an arc like that, but I guess it helped that there weren't many episodes even with the extended ones to begin with. But then also the whole, little piece of them being introduced and dropped into the Infinity Castle is one of the most interesting things I've seen animated in quite some time. Like the bird's eye view flying and then like seeing all of the individual characters either falling or like hanging from the gutters of the random buildings and stuff. Like that was, had me enraptured. So I cannot help but agree in that context. But I wanted to get your opinion, Kestrel, on it. So you being more anime educated, and I'm just a troglodyte. So
I don't know if I have the credentials to have any great perspective on it than that, but yeah, I agree that it was, by far the weakest Demon Slayer installment. And that final episode was quite phenomenal considering everything that preceded it. So yeah, overall, it probably salvaged the scene as a whole. And it was extended and it used its runtime well. And this season overall was short. Probably could have been shorter, but having that cap it off was pretty incredible. So definitely a great way to build hype and lead into the feature film trilogy that's gonna wrap it all up. Because if it was just as underwhelming of a finale as the rest of the season, then it would be hard to be that excited about and now we're getting a movie trilogy. So ending it that way was really smart.
Yeah, I also agree with the fact that even at 8 episodes goes really closer to 10 or 11 episodes of actual content.
I mean,
it could have definitely been shorter because it was that arc in particular in the manga is very short.
Yeah,
it also had anime only content.
Well, of course you need to at that point because it was 8 or 9 chapters, and effectively until the finale, nothing happens, right? It's it's literally just a training montage.
Except the anime only content is weird because it makes no sense for how that arc ends in the anime. Why didn't those two mention anything before about what happened to them?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be the first thing you talk about at that meeting with the Hashiras is, oh, by the way, we were chasing after a demon and then we got sucked into what appeared to be a giant castle and he just disappeared?
Right.
that wouldn't be a thing that you would bring up?
I'm sure this won't come back to bite us.
Exactly. I'm sure that was just a fluke and it will never happen again. So that was perplexing, and I didn't realize that was anime only content until I talked to the one friend I have who read it, and he's like, "What part was that?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" That's what happened. He's like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah,
that never happened.
I didn't realize the Demon Slayer panel at Expo where they singled out that scene from episode 1 and were like, "Oh, this was a big surprise to everyone. It wasn't in the manga," and so they were talking to the producer and the cast about that. I was like, "Oh, really? Interesting. That seems like a major thing to make up."
Yeah, and then it flies in the face of the narrative in some ways because it shouldn't caught anybody by surprise.
Right.
I do enjoy especially the meme that came out from that too, because it was, I don't know if you've seen it, Kestrel, but it was the idea of they were just getting Demon Slayers from everywhere to drop in the Infinity Castle. What if one of them was on the toilet?
Nice.
Yeah, how does that work? What falls in and what doesn't fall in? So I was having fun with everybody's creativity with that in the first place. I'm wondering if DJ is still watching this at all. If only because I know Zenitsu is his least favorite character, but depending on what you took away from the finale episode, it looks like he is locked the hell in already. and was from the moment he got that mysterious letter, essentially, whatever that may be. So I wanted to see if you could, if you wanted to throw a prediction out there of what that letter might say that got him all in his business, essentially. Which was cool. I did like the fact that he was just falling, like he was totally prepared for what was happening and grabbed his sword, and then that was it. There was no screaming, there was no nothing. He was just ready to take care of fucking business.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I've seen memes of that, uh, where it's like, letters from Nezuko saying that she's just not that into him or whatever. But no, I don't know. What is your prediction?
So I may be. This could be like completely wrong because I'm trying to go from memory on his background into why he became a demon slayer. And if I recall, it wasn't the same as everybody else in that his whole family wasn't murdered. Is that correct? Wasn't it something like debt related?
Yeah, I think so. I also have not watched season 1 in a while, but it sounds right.
Yeah, it definitely was unorthodox compared to a lot of the others. So my main thought was either he got a letter that like his family's being held hostage or something's in danger, or it has something to do with his debt. And it's like, if you finish this or whatever, all your debts will be paid. So he's going to be super serious. So then if he survives, he can quit being a demon slayer.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to get a huge, like, quote unquote, comedic payoff if he survives at the end.
Right.
Because then he's just going to turn all the seriousness off and then go into full screamy mode because he doesn't have to be a demon slayer anymore or something like that. Those are my two main thoughts. Because Zenitsu as a character is hard to gauge exactly when he's going to be serious and not, because he's serious about the dumbest shit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's even hard to be like, oh, well, it must have been something really important in that letter, because it could be something completely inane.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm thinking, is it has to... I'm thinking it has to do with his origin. Either his master or the people he had that he left behind are in danger, or now they've finally been killed or something. And he wants a revenge of some type, or it's something about even maybe a belated letter from the leader of the Demon Slayers being like, man, if you can just be locked in for this whole thing, we'll fucking let you go. Like, right. We'll pay off your debts and you can go because your skill is too great. You just are dog shit at actually using it when it really matters.
Yeah.
So something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult character because of how they've written him so far. Like, it's hard to take him seriously, and they try sometimes, but they always just end up kind of like, undercutting any serious narrative he could have. So it seems like it would be too out of character for him to, really be a dramatic force going forward. So I feel like no matter what, it's going to be some weird attempt at balancing his crazy screaming gag character with whatever this new mission is. And I think that feels unlikely to work well, and him being completely serious from here on out seems even more jarring, as much as many people would be happy to see him not be screaming Zenitsu anymore. So, yeah, hard to imagine how it's going to play out and how it's going to work, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think I would definitely take the jarring aspect of Zenitsu being serious all the time versus the jarring attempts at comedy and what should be one of the most serious, life-threatening and life-defining moments of all of their lives put together.
But it always is, right? Like,
well, not really. Like, it is, but it isn't. Like, we're fighting Muzan now.
Yes,
in this castle where we have no idea how to get out or if we could ever get out. The others were, life-threatening, but it wasn't Muzan.
Yeah. But, I mean, if they have their stupid gag moments in the middle of every other life-threatening, dark, violent scenario where people are getting murdered, then I don't think they're going to go for another however many hours with just no levity. So we'll see, but yeah, I don't know.
I know there are a lot of things going around, and I avoided spoiling myself, but I guess it's also just like people talking about how this is going to be like the the Jujutsu Kaisen, was it Shibuya arc or whatever?
Yeah, Shibuya incident.
Yeah, the Shibuya incident arc, but here, so animators are going to be depressed while they're animating because they're just going to be drawing their favorite characters dying.
Right. Cool. Yeah.
Which, yeah, it would be a royal fuck up if none of them died.
Right.
Just because this is supposed to be the biggest baddest demon with the biggest baddest threats, and it's not even him, it's also his biggest baddest generals, and then everybody survives would be some of the biggest bullshit on the planet.
Yeah. No way.
Especially given nobody died in the last arc or the one before that.
Well, the last arc wasn't really an arc.
Well, I meant
there weren't even stakes. Oh, you mean
I meant the Swordsmith Village arc. Like, I don't think anybody died. They rug pulled you on one, and then in Red Light District, I don't think anybody died in that one either. Of consequence.
Yeah, of consequence. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing is, our cast is basically the three. I guess we're up to like let's say 6 at most main characters and the Hashira. So they can only kill them only so often, right? So I would guess we're losing a few in the final stretch. But yeah, it's been a bit. I mean, I guess this one ended. The one arc that should have had the lowest stakes did have the most explosive deaths.
Yep. Indeed. That's very, very true. Which is also cool as hell.
Yes, it was very cool.
Yeah, wasn't expecting it at all. Definitely caught me by surprise. And I think I like the idea that the leader of the Demon Slayer, he was even like caught by surprise. Like, I didn't think this shit was gonna work.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it's that I super enjoyed, even though I was getting annoyed by the 5-minute walk. It was fine the first time, and then when the episode started with the walk again, I think I actually just fast forward through it. I was like, I've seen this once. I don't need to see another 5 minutes of him doing the exact same walk with the exact same camera angles.
I just love that before the second last episode, they were like, all right, the second last episode is going to be 5 minutes longer. The last episode is going to be 10 minutes longer than usual. And then we get to the end of the second last episode, and all of its extra content is just Muzan walking.
Yeah, it's just Muzan walking slowly with the theme playing.
Yeah.
Looking sharp,
later.
super sharp, but still.
Sharp. Yeah.
But still.
Yeah. So probably a little bit less of that if they're condensing the rest of the series into 3 movies. And I mean, yeah, to your point of, like characters like Zenitsu being more serious, obviously I don't know how he was depicted in the manga after this point, but if he did have any gag bullshit, probably good material to chop out if they've got to make these next 3 movies pretty brisk. So
yeah,
I might just get less of that anyway.
That's what I would recommend. I'd be like, all that trash, dump it. It's not funny. I don't care what anybody says.
He's definitely one of the most polarizing, divisive characters in anime history, because I hear what you're saying, and I hear it just as emphatically from exactly half of the viewers of the series, and the other half, Zenitsu is their absolute favorite character in the universe.
I don't understand anybody. I don't know anything anymore.
Yeah. I don't really get it, but he is very popular and also very despised.
I think the general feel from this podcast was despised.
Yeah. He's a good punching bag though. When he gets fucking beat on and belittled, and you get to see him suffer. It's a good time.
I mean, he did provide in this training arc one of the most relatable moments of any anime was when. Well, no, I think it was Inosuke. It wasn't him, but it was still one of the most. Which was when it was Tanjiro and Inosuke just screaming at each other, and then the other guy in the other bed was like, "Why can't they just shut up?"
Yes.
I was like, "Thank you. You are now the audience insert character."
Right. Yeah, maybe they'll kill off the one normal dude in their little squad there, who has like become a character now. He's just like the only one who isn't stupidly powerful.
Oh, the one with the gun though?
No, not like the just absolutely normal milquetoast dude. I have no idea what his name is, but he's been in there since like season 1, and in this arc he was in a little bit more where he was just like talking with the boys, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna support you. I know I'm not strong like you, but."
Oh yeah, that guy, the red shirt.
Yeah, the red shirt, exactly.
He's gonna get Krillined from the Frieza arc. That's what's
Right.
he's gonna get Krillined.
100%, yeah.
No, I'm glad you weren't referencing the gun dude, because I like the guy with the gun a lot.
Yeah. He had a pretty like, I feel like abrupt what do they call it, face turn. Like,
Yeah, that's true. He hated Tanjiro and everybody, and then all of a sudden he just didn't.
yeah, like he went from just being the super angry screaming asshole all the time to then, he had a little run-in with his brother and had a little sympathy thrown his way, and now he's just like, kind of a soft voice friendly guy who doesn't want any conflict even when people kind of get on his nerves. Like, wow, that was quick.
Yeah, we're gonna train together, and I'm gonna tell you the secret to pushing this big rock, and then we're gonna make rice balls.
Yeah.
We're friends now. Granted,
Right.
with Tanjiro, that's not hard at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that last episode definitely saved the arc in the season, though I still agree with you that it also could have been shorter at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, like I almost want to say it could have been a movie, but like most of it, I don't know, it doesn't seem interesting enough for a movie.
Yeah.
But given the way that it ended, maybe it could have worked.
Yeah, it would be a tough sell for a movie just because so little actually happens.
Right. It doesn't really have a first and second act. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's just
yeah,
a long training montage that isn't all that entertaining.
Right.
And then shit just happens in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be the slowest of slow burns.
Yes. But slightly less slow if it was, an hour and a half, 2 hours instead of 8 extended episodes over the course of 8 weeks.
All right, well, that's about all I got. If you're also ready to move on here.
Yep.
Cool, so let's talk about Bison Wolf, which I just finished at least the season content. I know it's still going, but I did finish what was the content for the season yesterday, so I'm caught up as far as this conversation needs to go. And it really grew on me as it went, like a lot.
Nice.
I was really enjoying everything by the end, especially Hollow and Lawrence's ever-evolving sort of back and forth with each other, and the playfulness of her like godly arrogance, and then he plays it off as she's just like a fucking bum sometimes. Like, I did find further and further appreciation of their dynamic in that way, and that she's a god, but he sees her as sort of an investment in a traveling companion and like friend, not really giving her any type of fealty except when he knows it's exactly what she's fishing for socially, so he just kind of it does it so that she's appeased for a few moments or something.
Right.
But and then her being, you know, as like actually wise and useful, it was really cool in ways, like helping him do deals and keeping out watch for them with her enhanced hearing and everything. Like, she is a goddess in all of the big ways, like transforming into a giant wolf and living for hundreds and hundreds of years, but her skills and her wisdom from the years of her being alive are useful on a normal everyday standpoint as well. So she doesn't just do these like miracle level things, which was refreshing in that way. Like, she is just cunning and fun as a character, regardless of her status as this goddess character, which I thought was really cool as well. It let it feel grounded enough that Lawrence could talk to her like that without it feeling like he's directly insulting a deity all of the time.
Right.
But no, really enjoyed it. Emily watched it with me partially by choice. More, I just had it going in the living room while she was sitting there, so she just kind of got enveloped in it eventually. And I think her favorite part is just how often Hollow dunks on Lawrence, because she does do that a lot. She dunks on him all the time, and it's pretty funny. Basically every single time, because he doesn't really have much of a retort in the first place. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I was actually, and I think I texted you about this, most shocked about how quickly the jig was up on her, which I really wasn't expecting. That caught me by like honest surprise. I think it's like episode 4 or something, that somebody else finds out, and then stuff happens. It wasn't used as a plot point throughout the entire season, at least all at once. It would be like, they found out, they leave, someone else may find out by happenstance. It wasn't one long, big secret or anything like that.
Right.
But yeah, really enjoyed it. Still liking it.
Hello is a god with a small g. She is
Right, exactly.
She is as opposed to the church's god with a capital G. She is a pagan deity of that is a force of nature that derives her abilities from rules that we do not understand.
Yeah, she's Holo the Wise Wolf. Holo is wise because she has the experience of an immortal being that can shift between forms and creatures and go within nature itself. So it's not that she is just inherently omnipotent. She is just very clever and cunning and wise from her centuries of experience. So it's a lot more realistic for her to act as a traveling companion to a mortal than if she was like god of gods.
She is. Yep. She's basically, just old and big in her true form.
Right.
That's the extent of her powers. Old and big.
Yes.
Big with sharp teeth.
When Lawrence got to ride her at the end, I was like, this would be the best moment of my entire life, and nothing could have ever topped it. When she's like, get on, I'd be like, say no more. Say absolutely no more. But he treated it so casually. He was like, yeah, no problem, I'll just hang out up here. I'm like, Lawrence, do you understand what's happening? You're climbing on a giant wolf goddess, and you're just gonna run around, and then she's gonna go beat up the guys that bullied you. Like, like I would be catatonic with joy. There would be nothing you could do.
Oh, the guys were making fun of you. Alright.
Yeah, alright, I guess I'll go eat them.
I don't know if it's like I'd have to go back and watch the original adaptation, but like the attacks and the injuries that they suffer in the show seem way more visceral and brutal than I remember from the first adaptation. I don't know why. I should go back. I'd have to go dig up those discs somewhere wherever I have them. But yeah, Yeah, he gets worked.
Yeah, Lawrence. Yeah, he gets beat up pretty bad most of the time, and it's funny how casual he is about it in a lot of ways. Where it's like, this isn't the first time you've gotten beaten up in a back alley, is it?
He's seen some shit.
The life of a traveling merchant.
Exactly.
It also always astounds me in the episode where he's going around begging for money, how quickly people just start how quickly the whole fucking town turned on him.
Mm-hmm.
It was like,
Yeah,
Jesus
that was
Christ.
shocking.
It was like, okay. I'm like, maybe this town's just trash. I'm like, I mean, there's no real reason why people that he had done good business with in the past wouldn't be loaning him some cash to make up, like on the temporary to get out of like a bad deal. Like if his business had been solid up until that point, I feel like he should have had some favors to call in, or at least people would have been like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you," as opposed to "Fuck you, buddy."
Yeah, the whole thing with it being, I think the one guy's like, well, you have that beautiful woman following you around. How could you? I'm like, that is the thinnest of reasons to not help him out. Like, what do you expect him to do? Sell her or something? Is that what that was?
I think that was just supposed to be weird, like medieval misogyny,
Yeah.
like at play, because he was all like very like into God, and then he's all like, "But you're got this harlot in tow," not like never questioning like, "Oh, this is like." It's like, well, she can't be your good wife because she's not at home, therefore she must be a harlot, and you are begging me for money, kind of
Yeah.
situation. So yeah, just straight up medieval misogyny happening there. But yeah, I don't know. It's still Spice and Wolf. It's still really good. It's fun to see what like 15 years of improvement have done for the voice actors. And in the fact that they are so fucking familiar with those characters, and they had been doing the audio books too, so they're just like sliding right back in, and it's so good because it's so much fun.
Sliding right
Everything
back
just
in, cashing those checks.
cashing them checks, but also like they like really enjoy those roles too, so it's like they just like chewing scenery, and it's so good.
Yeah,
The
I'm
banter is
sure
good.
Tatum was born to play Lawrence. Definitely, that kind of role is right up his alley. Not that I've seen any of the dub of this reboot. I never watched the original in Japanese, and I haven't watched any of this in English.
That's funny.
Get to experience it a little bit different.
Yeah, it's fun to compare and contrast the original dub with this one. It's like, oh yeah, you guys have had 15 years of 15 years of experience and reflection, and it's just it's good. It's good. I'm glad to have it back.
Yeah. And for the most part, I think it looked good. I know we talked about it a little bit last time, and at the beginning that it never looked stellar. I think some of the art quality dropped in the last few episodes, like some of the still shots of when it's just like Lawrence listening to Hollow while they're in the cart didn't look that great. Like his face would contort sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was one
weirdly
really awkward shot where it was like a mid distance like reverse shot where the guy turns to say something to them, and they're and it was just weird. It was a boring frame up shot, and they were far enough back from the camera that they were not full detail, so they looked like very flat, cartoony, like not full like animated figures responding to him, and it hung on that shot for just a little too long. I'm like, oh, this is awkward. Like, why does this shot exist? This is a bizarre shot. But other than that, it's been pretty good. I've been pretty happy with how it looked. That in the original version was so fucking ugly. I didn't realize how ugly it was until I went back and looked, and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
I mean, I said this all for 5 minutes last time, so I'm not gonna harp on it too much more. I still think it looks like shit, the old one looked 15 years more like shit, but just because this one looks better, 15 years later, it still doesn't look like as good as it should. So
yeah, but I don't know what is it supposed to look like?
like I don't notice it looking like shit most of the time.
I don't know. Well, it's like
it doesn't have to be over animated, just look consistently good.
Yeah, well, they could do better with some of the middling stuff, but I don't know. My standards are low.
I guess.
I'm just lie that out there. My standards are low.
But yeah, of course, the writing is good. That's why we all love it. And
Good music's good, voice acting's great, writing's
Kevin
good.
Bacon killing it with the music for sure. Yeah, voice acting in Japanese also very good. Amiko Shimizu as Holo is very fun. She really leans into that godly arrogance. Yeah, it's, I appreciate having Spice and Wolf back. Wish it looked better. Hope it gets a full adaptation eventually.
Eventually, yeah, I hope they keep going. Hey, if they can keep going with Natsumi Yujin show, I feel like we can keep going with Spice and Wolf for however long it takes.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I gotta mirror Kate because I'm like, it looked fine enough, and I don't really know exactly what it was supposed to look like to be really good up until those last couple episodes where I was like, ooh, okay, this look extra bad on some of these.
It's all the same shit I said last time, so I don't need to get into it again.
Yeah.
But I'm disappointed by production values and the stylistic choices consistently.
This just in. Can we title this episode "Kestrel Hates Spice and Wolf"?
I love Spice and Wolf.
That wouldn't be
Spice and Wolf anime relatively winning. Especially for rebooting it. Like,
I'm still
if you're gonna reboot it, knock me away.
The one thing I'm really confused about is, and I don't. This was a problem in the first anime. This is a problem in the second anime, and I don't remember if they described it particularly well in the novels. But the cities, giant walled cities in the middle of fucking nowhere near no body of water or river, mess with me because historically that doesn't work, because humans don't build large cities without either a river or the ocean or some very large lake. And nor should they have walls that are fucking 5 stories tall around them. Those walls look like something out of Attack on Titan. I'm like, why is your...
Keep the Titans out.
I know, but I'm like, that's not... Nobody built a walled city that tall. And they bring up, warfare against the pagans. So it's like, okay, you might have a walled city. Where the fuck is your river? Where the fuck is your coastline? Also, why are your walls 5 stories tall? Where are you getting the building supplies for this shit? Alright, that's my weird world building rant.
Alright.
That bugs
I'm just gonna go ahead and do what the rest of the show does and just be like, the church?
The church? The church is responsible. It's just so funny because they stick to like reality so strongly. I mean, minus like God creature. They stick to like the economy and all that stuff, and so strongly this all makes logical sense, and this is how microeconomics would work. And then they just do weird things with their world building like that, and it bugs me. All right.
We'll fix it in the next reboot.
Anyway, hang on.
How do you think people reacted to the plan when it was, oh, cool, we're going to smuggle this gold, how are we going to do it? And then it eventually turns into, well, you're going to have to rifle through some sheep shit.
I know, it's funny. It starts off with, like, we're just going to tie this onto the bottom of the sheep, and then they're like, no, we're going to feed it to the sheep. It's like, those are two very different things.
Yeah, exactly. I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, yeah, tie it to the bottom. They have a lot of wool. You just, hide it amongst the wool. And then the guy gets the bag of gold. He's like, I can't wait to feed this to the sheep. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I don't know who signed up for this, but I don't know about going through sheep shit to try and get these little gold nuggets out of it. That was not part of the deal. But I thought that was an interesting little wrinkle. Someone changed the plan, and the audience was not kept up with it.
Yeah, which is kind of funny.
Is that about it for the Spice and Wolf thus far?
Yeah.
Sure.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we can squeeze one more in here, since we're butting up on 2 hours. Kestrel, is there anything you want to talk about in particular that we've shared and haven't yet? I know we still have Yuru Camp, Dungeon Meshi as well, like the ending of that.
We already talked about that after it ended, though, right?
I think a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, Sound Euphonium is probably over forever, and it was probably the best ending anyone could have asked for. Really pulled it together. Obviously, the animation is always spectacular, and the direction, especially in the finale, was just like the perfect culmination of everything up to that point. So, really excellent final season of the series. Really happy with that. Conversely, Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night has a lot going for it. A lot of really interesting character study, social commentary throughout the whole series. A lot to dive into, but they do not have the time or the writing chops to wrap up the corner that they wrote themselves into with all the big plot developments in the final episode there. So it's just kind of a rushed ending that is not really satisfying at all and leaves a lot left untouched and things kind of too convenient and contrived. So disappointing ending on that. Still a lot of really great material. But I wish it turned out a lot better than it did.
alrighty. So I guess I can talk a little bit briefly here about Bartender and Tombo then as the two things. So Bartender had a nice ending, if not rushed a little bit. We got some nice little episodes with some character development and background of, our main character and the hotel's efforts to get him to be the bartender at their big, cool, exclusive bar for all the executive VIP folks and everything. So it was a nice little couple episodes that had some tender moments just between him and like his aging mentor and all of that. Of course, more cocktails and interesting history behind them. So if you are into that, it still had, just as much cocktail, trivia and fun things as that goes. It was just a little bit rushed because the whole season was kind of this hotel pursuing him to work for them rather than at Eden Hall, which is where he basically didn't get his start, but where he moved after he came back from Japan and kind of got into the business and everything. And then at the latter half of that very last episode, he goes for a catch with the owner of the hotel, and then he just works there now. So I think they didn't really know how they were going to end that very like smoothly, so they just kind of clumped it all in the end, and then you got a little montage of him serving drinks to all the other characters from the show as they came to celebrate him moving, and then they changed the name of the bar and the hotel from whatever they wanted to Eden Hall, so he still works at Eden Hall and everything. But overall, it was a nice, like a Brandon and I talked about the first time, like a more adult Iyashike, if you're into that type of thing for, going to nice cocktail lounges and bars. Unfortunately, I don't know how many bars you could ever go to that you would get this type of service. It's kind of like the Elysium of that experience. So it does overly romanticize a lot of the elements. But I mean, that's kind of the point of a lot of these types of shows as well. Like Iyashikei's in general overemphasize the sort of tranquility of what's going on and things, and take out the negative portions, whether it's the times you're going to go to bars and the bartender's not going to really care about you, or you go to other shows, you know, where it's like, oh, growing up on a farm actually is boring as fuck 90% of the time, or it takes out the parts where you're wading through cow shit and, you know, doing all the nasty stuff, and just shows you the fun, rewarding pieces. So there's also obviously some give and take you have there. And then Tanbo had an interesting ending as well. You know, it still looks a little rough around the edges, but I really appreciate the attention to like detail and realism, which is I think what the creator of the show, when I first learned about the show, wanted to do, was like, we're gonna make this a show about someone who's really good at golf and a couple people, but we're not going to make it into like a Dragon Ball Z type thing. So I definitely appreciate that. And I guess maybe I just have a too much of a soft spot for golf, where shows that do treat it in that way I instantly don't like. And I don't know why. I think it's just a block that I have, but Tombo doesn't. And we ended it on a good note where she's branching out. She's not only getting better and collecting more golf clubs, but now she's thinking about her future and how she could leave the island, not only to better herself, but better the life of the other people on the island that she lives on, if she tries to like become professional and play in tournaments and stuff. So I don't know if we'd ever get any more of it, because I don't think it was like very successful. Not many people even watched it, so it felt more like a low budget passion project, which is weird to say, but that was the feel I got from it. And I know the manga's been running for a decent amount of time, so there's clearly way more source material to work on. But yeah, not bad at all. I think there's another golf anime or two coming up soon. That one definitely feels like it's going more into that heightened reality. I already saw a clip of it where a kid jumps backwards into a bunker so he can hit the ball out of the sand rather than just standing in it. So I'm sure that's going to be way more on that DBZ side of things. And then the other one is that Soriro Utility that had a short a little while ago, which seems like it'll be more realistic, if only because everybody in the show sucks. So you can't really DBZ people being bad and learning how to play. I'm wondering if it's going to be a sort of cute girls golf equivalent to what was that one tennis show, like Baby Steps a while ago?
Yeah.
That took more of a realistic approach and had a guy that was really terrible in the beginning, and then you just watched him improve rather than already being very good. So maybe we'll see that, which could be interesting. But yeah, those two were good. I would recommend them both. They're just niche. Like, you have to be into that and be the demographic. Like, I wouldn't tell anyone who's just trying to watch anime to pick either of these two, but yeah.
Now, I know I bring this up every time you shit on Birdie Wing, which I still haven't seen. But do you not like real tennis? Because Prince of Tennis seems to be what you're talking about for tennis, and that's like your favorite anime of all time.
Well, there's nostalgia for that.
Is it just that?
Not really. I mean, I think because I watched it at a time where a lot of the other anime I was watching and that was geared towards was I was a teenager. So it's partially nostalgia, partially I was the core demographic at that point. And I think it's just some thing in my head that's like, well, golf is hard enough already, and to watch these people trivialize it makes me angry. Meanwhile, tennis, I'm like, yeah, you can do whatever you want in this game. You're hitting ball, you're running around, ball back and forth. Playing tennis at its core is not difficult. It's you hit the ball over the net to the other person, they hit it back. So maybe my brain just gave it more leeway, but golf is so hard already that maybe it's just more like some mental block of they're disrespecting the game.
I see.
But I really couldn't give you like a rational explanation. It's just when I see people do it to golf for animes, I'm like, I don't want to watch someone do a whole bunch of shit that not only is impossible but breaks all of the rules at the same time. And maybe that's another part, the more I talk about it, because for Prince of Tennis, for the most part, they actually didn't break the rules of the game. They just broke the rules of reality.
Right.
But if someone hit the ball out, they called it out. If someone did something illegal, they got called out for doing something illegal. They just completely, warped physics to their needs. In some of these golf anime, they do shit that would be completely illegal by the game's own rules. They just throw those out the window for the sake of entertainment. And maybe there's partially that too. Like when I watch them, like you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. So maybe that's part of it too. But yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
What did you, Kestrel? I want to ask you one more thing before we kind of wrap it up. Then, what did you think of the end of Yuru Camp? I don't think we talked about the ending of it in the last couple episodes. Last time we talked, like, how they sort of wrapped up the season on a group camp trip.
I don't know that I had like strong reaction to it. It was kind of like, most of the season was just kind of coasting along. I don't think the end really changed my perspective all that much. I feel like I've already forgotten how it ended.
They just go on a group camping trip. If anything,
Right.
the main thing I was gonna say, and I didn't know if you felt the same, was it was too short, and that they actually only do the group camping for the last couple minutes of the episode, because the first part of the episode is them still ramping up to do it, and then you get like a hurried montage of them doing camping stuff together, and then they eat a meal, and then the season's just done.
It does seem like a lot of anime suffered from like, knowing how to pace and budget their time. Because that one, maybe Demon Slayer, definitely Jellyfish Can't Swim in the Night. There's a lot of like, okay, we're gonna give you all the bullshit you don't care about, and then rush everything that matters in the very end.
Yuru Camp, it definitely happened too, which is a little disappointing because this whole group camping trip was something that was not only hyped within the show, but it's kind of the best part of the show for the viewer.
Yeah.
Not just the characters, it's when they're all together and you get all their group dynamics and they do all these things. It just felt like they didn't give it nearly enough time to be memorable or worthwhile. They just like, here's a montage, we made a meal, we're going to sleep, this is great, end of season.
Like,
so,
did we need 2 episodes of them recounting their trip without Nadeshiko, where Nadeshiko's spirit just kind of like intrudes upon it because it's actually a memory, and also they're making shit up? Like, did that need 2 episodes if you gotta condense the part that we want to see into like 1 minute at the end?
Yeah, absolutely not. Those 2 episodes may have been my least favorite of this season, not just for Yuru Camp, but for anything that I watched.
Wow. And
well, it's because it's dumb. Nothing important happens. They just make stuff up as they go along, and then they're jumping in and out of like dreams, like sequence things, and it's just a recap of something that I don't know. I was like, I do not want any of this that's going on right now. They could be doing other things, like going camping together in real life.
Right.
So, no, I did not enjoy those at all. But I don't think I generally do enjoy, like, recap or pseudo-recap episodes like that, even though it was an episode of its own. It's just, it was, like you said, jumping around, making stuff up, including someone who wasn't even there, and now all of a sudden they're there. So it was just, wasn't feeling it.
It's a good gag for, like, a post-ending scene, not 2 entire episodes.
Yeah. And maybe if they did the whole thing in one episode and condensed all of it, I would have a different opinion, because then you could make the gag more condensed and just get whatever you think your best jokes are out of the way, rather than prolong it over what was essentially 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those 2 were not good by any stretch of the imagination for me, but yeah.
Definitely strange prioritization throughout the season.
Yeah. I think that's a very good point that you bring up about it. It seemed like a lot of shows didn't know what to do with the time they had on their hands.
Yeah. That was also like Windbreaker. I don't think I've talked about Windbreaker, but I reviewed it along with Jellyfish. It was in this weird situation where like it basically took the majority of the season to do this one arc, and it just had like a handful of episodes left. So it's like, oh shit, well, we can't really start the next arc now. We've only got a few episodes left. So it's just kind of dragging its feet and being like, hey, remember that arc we just had? Let's spend half this episode like chasing a cat or something. We're on the finale. Maybe we can build up to the next arc now. So yeah, weird pacing. Somewhat brought about by the constraints of it's got to be 12 or 13 episodes, but even within that, definitely could have stretched and shrunk certain things to make it a little more optimized.
Indeed. All right. Well then, Kate, did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about before we head into any recommendations and such?
No, I think we're good.
Very good. So why don't we scooch on over to any recommendations any may have? Kestrel, is there anything from you?
Good question. Let's see what we've had come out recently. The Boy and the Heron is released today, if you're into that sort of thing. I don't know if I talked about it last time, but Vinland Saga Season 2 Part 1 just came out a week ago. That is certainly something everyone should own. If you want to pay Aniplex a lot of money for kind of old content, the Gurren Lagann recap movies are on 4K UHD. You can get that if you want to spend a lot of money on it. Yeah, let's see, what else do we got? Oshinoko, the second season just started. The first season is getting its Blu-ray releases. Just got the standard, and it's getting the steelbook in a couple more weeks. So definitely check that out. Yeah, I think that's what I've got for recent and imminently upcoming physical anime releases. Can't think of anything else at the moment.
Okie doke. I have one thing. It's not anime, but it did just happen a couple hours ago, I think. But the pre-orders for the nice edition of the Godzilla -1 4K came out from Toho. Now you have to drop $55 at least if you use a coupon code to get it. So if you're really into it and you want the first editions of this disc release, then by all means go for it. I think you get 4K, a Blu-ray copy of the movie, at least one disc that has just special features alone. There may be a fourth disc too. I haven't looked into it too much, but it comes in a really nice case. I think you get some extra art cards and things like that. But that did go up for pre-order on the official site. So unless you imported the Japanese version already to play probably on your region-free Blu-ray player, this is the first chance you're going to get to own this on physical media. And I can't guarantee we'll get cheaper versions of it just because it's a Japanese movie still owned by them, and that's always a weird proposition. Like it could show up in like a Arrow or something like that, maybe, or like one of those boutique retailers rather than just being released, wholesale. So we'll see, but go out and grab it if you really want it and you want a nice copy because it is undeniably so.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely what I would recommend.
Well, 4K has no region. Blu-ray, we have the same region as Japan anyway, so importing is never an issue.
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure if they were in their own region or not, because there have been others like Japanese movies, but not released by Japanese producers and things that they get region-coded Blu-rays for some reason, and they don't work because they'll be like region B'd because of the house, like the production house they come from.
Well, I mean, DVD were different regions, but Japan and US have always been both region A for Blu-ray, and UHD does not have regions at all. But anyway, The only issue with this release is the bonus Blu-ray does not have subtitles, so that sucks. So hopefully someone does release it in like a full domestic version that, one, includes all of those extras, which is certainly not guaranteed, and two, actually subtitles them, which, if they're included, they probably will, but that's a big if. But yeah, definitely a very nice release. I definitely sent it around to a bunch of people that I know would appreciate it once it went up.
Kate, how about you?
The last volume of Delicious in Dungeon will be out in English extremely soon. Everybody should check out that manga. I already have my copy because I'm reviewing it, but it is out probably in the next week and a half. So the thrilling conclusion to the series.
Get your eBay listings ready so you can sell them all and buy the new box set.
Or you could do that too. But if you're like me and you've been buying it as you go along, then you know.
No, I'm definitely the target demo for that box set since I only just got the first volume.
Yeah. So either be like Kestrel and wait, or be like me and pick up the final volume.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then, if that's everything, I think we can call it a night. So, Kestrel, why don't you let everyone know where they can find us and where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find us wherever you find podcasts. Please subscribe, rate, and review. We are on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and YouTube Music, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Alexa, Amazon Music, Facebook Music, something, I don't know. Fandompost.com, and we're also on social media if you want to get in contact with us, follow us, share our stuff, any of that kind of business. Any questions, comments, input, we are on Twitter and Facebook at Fandom Post Radio. We're also available via email, fandompostradio@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter at FullMetalKyoma. I am on the fandompost.com. I'm going to be reviewing the second season of Oshinoko whenever I get around to it. I'm still catching up after AX, so I have not yet written my first episode review. At this point, it might just get bundled with episode 2. That interview that I talked about getting last minute at Anime Expo will be going up at some point when I get around to transcribing that. That is with Kiyotaka Oshiyama, who is the director, writer, character designer, animation director, storyboard artist, and head of the studio behind the Look Back anime film. That's the adaptation of the beloved one-shot from Chainsaw Man creator Tatsuki Fujimoto, which I did not get to see at the con, but my friend did, and he thought it was incredible. So look forward to that interview and to the movie. Hopefully we get it eventually. I think that's about all I got.
Hey, Kate, how about yourself?
You can find me at fandompost.com. I am reviewing, still continuing to review Slime. I am reviewing many volumes of light novels and manga that I need to catch up on. So those, I think I had 2 reviews go up, and I'm gonna have a review of Delicious in Dungeon, the final volume, and school manhwa, and some other stuff coming up. I am probably going to be reviewing Dungeon People as soon as I get off my butt and get to doing that. Obviously, holiday weekend threw everything out of whack for everybody, regardless of conventions or not. And you can find me on Blue Sky, and you can hunt me down on the rest of the internet. That's it.
Alright, very good. Well then, as always, you can find me here. So that's about us. That's about it for us for the evening. So thank everyone for listening, and we will talk to you later.